Yes, people, welcome back to the channel. We are here for Lead Judges TV. As ever, I'm your host, Dan Potts, and I'm with Lead Judges. And we thought we'd do a show for Deadline Day. Now, normally we would do one of these shows where we right the way up to 11 p.m. and I'll get excited. One, we ain't got time to do that because we're both busy. But two, there ain't much going on as far as Arsenal are concerned. And it looks as if in Mikel Arteta's last press conference that he has said our business is done. There are no more incomings. There might be some outgoings, but it doesn't look like we're going to be getting anyone. Now, obviously, you could be playing that a little bit coy, and we could be doing something behind the scenes last minute. And I've got no doubt in my mind that if there's an opportunity that arises, Arsenal will not turn it down. But it doesn't fill me with any confidence that this is actually going to get anything more than what we've seen already. Lee, how does that make you feel?
Listen, disappointed. I'm not going to lie, because this is the Champions League we're in now. Like, and I feel it was all about really strengthening the squad, making the squad stronger. I see our starting 11. Is it stronger or not? I'm not so sure. I think that we spent a lot of money and Declan Rice has come in. Now, for me, Declan Rice, I thought was in to replace Xhaka. And I would turn around and say that was a definite upgrade and a good bit of business. If I think, is he replacing Thomas Partey, then I'm not so sure, So, listen, we've got two very, very good holding midfield players, but I thought that we would have used that a little bit differently. I'm going to be honest and say it now, disappointing. I'll say it as it is, If you really look at it, Raya has replaced Turner. Timber has replaced Tierney. Havertz, you can say, has replaced Xhaka. That means Declan Rice is the only additional signing that we've got to the squad. And we all knew that we lacked squad depth last season. One of the reasons that we didn't win the league last season, not because of Mikel, because it was squad depth. But you've had a choice and a chance to change that this season, Dan, and you decided to only bring in one player. I get, the Timber one's a massive blow because he can play two or three positions. I get that. But you still had 3 weeks to maybe just bring a loan signing in or something like that. So I look at that now. Tavares has gone now. He's helped out Tottenham. Without this transfer window's helped out Tottenham, because by him going there has meant that Johnson can go to Tottenham. I don't really see why we've done that move on a loan to help another club out when Tavares could have come in and been a backup for what we've got for Tierney or something like that. So for me, I've got to say, people again trying to stick up. I've seen it on the group chat, sticking up for Real. We've improved this plan. Yes, we have. We've improved. We have improved on Turner. There's no two ways about that. I give you that with Raya. And probably we've improved. We had done with Timber. But for me, I'm saying it now. If Arsenal fail this season, I'm not gonna sit there where I did last season and say our squad wasn't strong enough. You've had the choice to make. You've now gone into this season and Champions League football knowing that what lies ahead. So I've got to be happy with the squad depth that you've got, and that's it for me now. So I feel we're short in a couple of areas. I'll be honest, but if I look at it and say, has it been a great window? Everybody's going to go, oh, we've got Declan Rice, we've spent all this money. The Havertz one is not working at this moment in time. That doesn't mean to say it's not going to work, Dan. We know that. But for me, I'm going to say it now. I don't think we've done enough.
No, certainly I don't think we've done anywhere near.
Not to win the league and challenge with the Champions League as well.
I agree. And listen, have Arsenal done enough to get in the top four this season? Yeah. Have Arsenal done enough to get in the title race and win a trophy? Not for me. I've accepted we ain't winning this league. Oh, it's negative. You're giving up. You got to get behind the team. Yeah, I hear it, but I'm just a realist. We ain't done nowhere near enough to win a title. We've improved and upgraded on Granit Xhaka. That's all we've done so far. Havertz is probably about as good or as bad as the other options that we've got. He's no better than a Fabio Vieira or a Smith Rowe, as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, from what I can see, I don't think that we can count Timber now until March when he's back. So that's a whole season without a player that we've signed. And David Raya, when are we going to see him? Yeah, I think we will see him, but when and how often, we don't know. So we spent 235 million, and there's only one option out of the four that we know is going to play every game. Now, that's a lot of money to spend for one player. And we are so short, it's unbelievable in some positions. I look at our centre-back situation, we're no stronger than last year. It's exactly the same, Lee. Actually, it's worse because Tierney's now gone as well. So we've got Tierney and Timber that are now out the side. We've got midfield that consists of Rice instead of Xhaka. But last season we were short. We've got no extra players in there now. Rice, Partey, Jorginho and El Neni are all there. Last season it was Xhaka, Partey, Jorginho and El Neni. We've got an extra attacking midfielder in Kai Havertz that can play up top as well. But he isn't doing much at the moment. A lot of people are disappointed with him. We've still got Pepe and Reece Nelson at the club that can back up Saka. That's not good enough. And we've got Eddie and Trossard that we had last season if Jesus gets the knock. So if we didn't win the league last year, how can anyone say Arsenal are going to win it this year now? They can't. It's all hope. It's no belief. It's just hope that Man City don't do as good. But they're already looking good, and they started the season stronger than they ever have before. It's the strongest start under Pep. So I think the title is going to be extremely difficult now. We've got to pray that we can do something in the cups. And I don't think, for me, we can sit there and go, chuck those domestic cups away this year. Let's go to that title or Champions League. I'm not having that anymore. I'm sorry. I'm not having that anymore because this squad is not strong enough for a title push, and it ain't strong enough to win the Champions League. You need a bit of luck for that. So I'm going for all these competitions now, and I'm not resting players in the Carabao Cup or the FA Cup anymore because we've thrown those trophies away year in, year out. We should be able to get through with a squad to a latter stages of most of these competitions. We just don't have the squad depth to go for the title. We should easily, with the squad we've got, still be pushing. If the manager's good enough, like everyone says, we should be able to be pushing for the deep stages of the domestic cups. And I think the Champions League, we should be trying to head for past the group stage, past the last 16, and head to be one of the last four clubs in that competition. Because I look around and I think that with the squad we've got, with our first 11 as fit as it can be, we should. The problem we've got is our first 11 is not going to be fit, Lee. So if Saliba gets injured, who comes in now? When Tomiyasu is at the Asia Cup and Saliba gets injured, tell me our back four. What is it?
Oh, I'm with you on this. This is the problem. Listen, I get that people want to stay positive and all that, and I understand that, like, you know what I mean. But I think Arsenal got to be lucky with injuries. Dan, you know, I'm with you on this. I don't want to be when the Carabao Cup game kicks off. For instance, Raya in goal, right back, say. I'm stuck.
There we go. So we've got one position. I mean, I know what it'll be.
Who goes right back? Because you can't.
It's my question.
You put
you've got no Tomiyasu and you've got no Saliba. Maybe we'll have to keep Cedric.
Well, what I'm saying is, say if you want to rest Zinchenko, you're going to have to play left back, left-sided now player. Tomiyasu, yeah, is that right now?
Well, okay.
No, okay. No, I've worked it out. So we could go like Tomiyasu. No, it still don't work because Kivior would have to go into central defence, wouldn't he? Your central defence is Holding and Kivior, isn't it? Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. Holding looked like he might be going to Palace.
Yeah, we can't play. We're going to have to play one or two regular players for that Carabao Cup.
It'll have to be Partey. Partey will have to be there. But that's what I'm saying. If we get to January and Tomiyasu and Partey are no longer there and Saliba is out, what's our back four?
I don't know. I honestly think we've left ourselves short. But listen, it was a fantastic. It would have been good if Timber was fit, but he's not. We've had 3 weeks since he's been injured. You know, I don't want to be.
I'll tell you the answer. The answer will be Ben White at right back, Kivior right centre back, Gabriel left centre back, and Zinchenko left back. That will be the back four. Kivior will have to play on the wrong side of the defence, which, to be fair, he did a couple of times last season. But we're short, man. And then in the midfield, if Declan Rice isn't about, who plays box to box? Because he'll play Havertz there.
You've got Havertz or Trossard that can play that role. That ain't a problem, like, you know, for me.
Very attacking though, Lee.
Well,
Odegaard and Havertz and
the
Partey
attack,
sitting there, basically doing what Man United do at the moment. Casemiro, I know you're playing crap. That's because we're leaving you on your own, mate. Partey, good luck. We're all going forward. You can't do that, man. You got to control that midfield.
No, I'm saying about like for games when you've got to rest players, because that's what you're going to have to do at some stage. You can't, you know, I'm looking at like playing Brentford away. I would go with a front three of Pepe now, because Pepe's not going, is he?
I don't know, man.
So he's going to stay. Pepe, you've got then probably Eddie or Trossard, and then you've got Nelson, so that can be there. The midfield of Vieira, Smith Rowe, and maybe a holding midfield player. One of the two's got to play in there. You know, and you're struggling a little bit, and you're like, these players are going to have a rest somewhere along the line. Or what could happen, Dan, is that we play one game, whether it be Champions League or the Cup, and we just make 2 or 3 changes. And then the next game we make 2 or 3 changes, and the next game we make 2 or 3 changes. We're going to have to wait and see. Wholesale changes are not going to happen now, like, you know. So it'll only be 1 or 2, I think, and we'll see what happens, like, you know what I mean. So, yeah, I'm not 100% sure how we're going to go, but I just don't think the squad's strong enough.
Nah, yeah, there's a lot of people in the chat.
Not for the Champions League as well.
There's a lot in the chat saying we're all moaning and get on with it. It's great. It's fine. So I guess they've tipped us for the title. Listen, I think personally we're miles off the title. I don't think we're going to have a shocking year. I still think we'll come second. I think we're the strongest out of the lot. I think around us, I look and I think they're miles off as well. So Man City, they are laughing. I know a lot of the fans, and they're all going, "You boys, you've done nothing, have you? You're all miles ahead, miles behind us." And I can't even come back at them, Lee, because they're right. So it'll be a tough one for us. He's got to win a trophy this year, Lee, and I honestly believe that our best chance of a trophy is a domestic one. I don't think Champions League and Premier Leagues are the ones that we should be putting all our eggs in for. I think that we should be dividing it up a bit better than we did last year. No more bigger fish to fry moments. For me, we need to get into the situation of going for a domestic cup and going for an FA Cup or a League Cup is what we build our history on, man. 14 FA Cups. Like, we can't be throwing them in the bin this year, mate. And I think with our squad, we might have enough to go for one of those, Lee, potentially.
Yeah, listen, you know, we were talking about this yesterday, weren't we? You know, you got to have a little bit of luck in the cups. You know, Brentford, by the way, away from home, is not an easy one. That's a team that's got no European football, so they're going to play their strongest side. We're going to make changes, so that's not an easy tie. I think, if I'll be really honest, Brentford would probably be favourites for those reasons, Dan, because they're going to play, unless they they do a Tottenham and rest a load of players, which I don't think they will. I think Brentford will look at that and go, we're at home, under strength Arsenal side. I think we're going to win it. We'll win that one. So I don't think we've got a favourable draw there. You know, then you can pull out one of the big guns away from home, like we did last season, and that's the end of your domestic cup competitions, Dan. And when you say he has to win a trophy, I think I don't necessarily go along with that. I think that it depends what draws we get and what we get and what teams he puts out. For instance,
there's context. There's definitely context.
Yeah, exactly. So for me, if we was to go out to Brentford and then we go out to another mid-table,
like Leicester or something.
Yeah, like let's just say Leicester, or this, you know, put in someone, Sheffield United or someone like that, and we don't put in a title challenge, and I think, you know, like, questions have got to be asked. But like, you know, if you go away to Man United or Man City or Liverpool in the first round of the FA Cup and lose, it's a tough draw. So you got to have a little bit of luck on the draws thing. So I'm not going to go down that route quite yet. But for me, I don't see it this much. If he carries on doing what he's doing with the team and the way it's playing and the way that we're setting up and all that, we won't get top 4. That's my opinion. That's not me being negative. That's not going, oh, it's only after 3 games. I can only talk about what I've seen over 3 games. I don't think I've seen anything convincing over 3 games against 2 teams 3 teams that are going to be in the bottom half of the table. Now that might all change on Sunday. Might change the team, and we end up having a fantastic performance. And I think that everything will be a little bit different. But I haven't seen that yet. So when I see it, I'll go for it. So there's a pressure light, So how can I say it? I think there's pressure going to be put on him, Dan, and rightly so. I think if you be really honest about it, when you talk about luck in the draws, I don't think you could have asked for a better draw than what we got yesterday. I think that from a glamorous point of view, and like, oh, we're back in the Champions League. Let's be really honest about it. We've pulled out 3 Europa League teams.
We have.
Well, that's it. It's like that last season would have been a Europa League draw group. So when you look at it, we've been fortunate on that side that we should go through to the next stage, even though we haven't really got a glamorous tie. There ain't a glamorous tie there. We've also got a little bit of lady luck in our favour about travelling. Holland, an hour and a bit by plane. France, you don't even have to get a plane if you don't want to, like it's northern France. You can just get on the Eurostar. And Seville is about 2 hours, 20 minutes. So, as far as travelling is concerned, as far as the games are concerned, we've got away with it a little bit, Dan. Got away with it a little bit, might be able to rest a few players and still get through. But I think you've got to look at the title. There's been a little bit of a saying with everybody, and I get it and I understand it. We come 4th last year or 5th. Oh, yeah, but it was better than 8th. There's been improvement. Well, 2nd is where you come last season. To improve on that, there's only one way you can go, and it's to win it. But, so for me, if Arsenal were to get 87, 86, 85 points again this season, and it ends them in 3rd, I would turn around and say, okay, I get that. But I'm going to say it now. I don't think Arsenal are ever going to win the title or anything with the policies that they're doing at the moment in the transfer window, because I don't think it's been good enough for the last 2. I looked at it this time last year, and we was in the Europa League, and we were short of a midfield player, weren't we? Going, oh, we need to get a midfield player. We're short. I feel like I'm in a scene from Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs. We're short again this year, Dan, which I don't go into the season buzzing for it, because I still think that we're a couple of players short. I felt with Timber in the side, maybe not, but losing him I think is massive, and I think that again, if dare I say it, Saliba gets a knock on the pitch, I'm going to be frantically worried about it. Not so much Jesus now, because Eddie sort of took it for it a little bit. So I think there's 2 players, Declan Rice or Partey gets injured, I think we've got a problem.
Where does it concern you position wise, Lee? Because I know I can say what I want about the strength in depth that we haven't got, etc. But maybe it's good for you to explain to me where you think we're short, because I know you've touched on it there. But what's the real position that worries you the most? Because I look at 4 or 5, mate, if I'm honest. I don't want to lose Saka, not just because he's top quality, but I don't think the quality's there. Jesus, Declan Rice, Saliba. There's quite a few for me, man.
Yeah, you're always going to get that, Dan, at any level of football.
I get that.
You've got 4 or 5 players, whatever level of football you're playing, whether it be a Sunday morning, you've got 4 or 5 3 or 4 really good players that are the heartbeat of the team. And if you get them injured, or they're not there, you do miss them. So that's always going to be the case. Doesn't matter if it's Barcelona, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, Arsenal, whoever. If you have those players missing, you're going to suffer. So every team has that. But what you got to do is cover it as best you can. Now, for me, Saliba was massive loss last season. Not a problem so much last season when you lost this season. When you lose Saliba, you could go, all right, okay. Timber comes in at right back. Ben White can play central defender. Now, Ben White is a very, very good defender, but he's no Saliba. But he could cover it for a few games or a month. Vice versa on the other side. I think Kivio could and Gabriel a good replacement. But if you lost one of them, you could just fit it in. Now the problem being is if Saliba goes down now, Tomiyasu could go back to right back. Right, okay, yeah, that's no problem. Ben White goes in at central defence. But then I worry about Shinchenko reliability as far as a full season goes. So he could go down at the same time. And then you've got to bring in Kivio. Then it can all go wrong. So for me, now that Timber has gone, I would have gone, whether it be buy someone or loan someone, I would have gone in there like Kinsella.
Well, there are rumours, and they're very not heavily linked rumours. Earlier on, there was rumours that we're looking at a potential loan for Cancelo. Something's happening at Barca, which is preventing that. And also, someone's just said in the chat he's heard that we're linked with Kyle Walker-Peters from Southampton, who, by the way, people might laugh at, but I think he's a very good player.
That would be a good move for us. I'm not going to knock that. That would be a sensible move. Someone that can come into right back, not upset the apple cart, and you can shift maybe Ben White over. I've never gone down this route of saying that we needed to bring in 60, 70, 80 million pound players. What we need to do is bring in players that are good enough to cover when we've got players out. Now, when people go, well, you're not there, you ain't going to get a replacement for Saliba, Dan. You're not going to get a replacement for Jesus. You're not going to get a replacement for whoever. But what you can do is, like what Eddie did for Jesus last season, was we didn't really miss Jesus. You know what I mean? So that's, to me, Eddie done his job. You know what I mean? Yes, we missed him, but not as much as what I actually thought we was going to. So that's what we need now. We need to bring in a couple of little options to just strengthen the squad. So if you do get injuries, you can cover them. And if you don't get the injuries, you've not got, I've got to get him in the team somewhere because I spent 60 million on him. You know what I mean? It's a 20 million pound, 30 million pound signing. A little bit like with Trossard or Vieira at this moment in time. No one's going, you've got to play him because there's 60 odd million. What we got, the little bit of pressure that we've got with Havertz. So it's not moaning, it's not groaning, it's just making a point that I don't think that we're quite strong enough to contend with all the competitions that we should be going for now. We've gone into the Champions League, Dan, right? I think you get £1 million a point or something like that. Someone said, do you know what someone said to me? I'll tell you, it was one of my Scott, who plays football with me. He's a vet in the vets team. He's a Rangers fan, Scottish. He was telling me that, I was saying, is that, you'd be happy to go into the Europa League where you got better chance and all that. He went, no, Lee, we get more for one game in the Champions League than we do for the whole season in the league. So that just shows you how much money is in that league, like the Premier League. The Champions League. So for Arsenal, going to earn a lot of money out of this Champions League, Dan, a lot of money. And is it about money or is it about trying to win it or trying to? I don't want to just be in the Champions League. I'm going to be really disappointed. I'm actually going into the Champions League. Whether you think I'm stupid or not, right? I'm going into the Champions League. My head is telling me we're going to win this competition. We are going.
Of course, the aim is always to win.
I'm not going there thinking, I just want to get 16th or get through the qualifying stage. I am there thinking of it. Now, people are going to go, you're delusional and all that, because last season, the Europa League, we was there, and we never was really competing for it. So the same scenario as last season. I didn't think we were strong. I always said last season, I don't think we've got to go for one competition. We can't win both. I was one of that, I'm not going down that route now because you've had the opportunity, the ball, the manager, Edu and all that, to have a little look at it and go, right, we've got Champions League football. Are we ready to challenge for the Champions League, Premier League, FA Cup and League Cup? Is our squad going into tomorrow good enough, strong enough to win all of those competitions. I'm not saying you're going to win them, Dan, but you know what I'm saying. Like to try and win them. My
To
answer,
challenge on all four fronts, you mean?
challenge all forefront. I'm looking at that as a fan, saying no. So if I was in that board meeting, I'd be saying no. Now, if you've got Edu and Arteta turning around and saying yes, then it is on them guys, isn't it? It's on Edu and Arteta, but they think they've got enough. Let's see what they have. So if it does drop off this season, and people go, the squad's not strong enough, right? That's down on Edu. That is down on Arteta. No more excuses. The excuses run out last season when we got to Champions League, Dan, for me. The excuses now are not there. You've got Champions League football. You can attract the players that you want. You've got the money, right? Because there was another thing that used to be said, like, oh, well, we ain't got Champions League money. We can't do that. All of those things now, all those little parts of the jigsaw puzzle have been put in place. So realistically now, you look at your jigsaw, there shouldn't be a piece missing. So there you go. So now there's no excuses no more. Like, you know what I mean? You've decided to go for it. And you're going to get a lot of people come back. Yeah, but like, you know, the Timber injury, I get that. But the Timber injury didn't happen on September the 1st, Dan. It happened in August. So if you're going to get an injury and a bad one, get it in the transfer window. So there you go.
Listen, I think you're talking facts. Let's bring up something interesting, shall we? I'm going to bring up two super chats, Lee. This one comes up from Highbury Ultra 13X, and it says, KSE have spent a net of £140 million. Not good enough. Asking Arteta for a miracle to win this league, setting him up for failure. We have less depth now with more games. And TBG has come in with a super chat, big up, says, I can't say I'm surprised. KSE haven't changed at all. Where do you stand on the Cronkies in this situation, judges?
I think that's a fantastic point. It's a fantastic point. Listen, it's not always about spending the money. It's not always about how much money you spend. It's about what players come through the door and what quality. So I don't know. We've got to the Champions League with a squad that wasn't strong enough last season to compete in the Europa League and the Premier League. We've actually signed 4 players. I don't think that's enough. I don't think that's enough. On the Cronkies' defence, we spent a lot of money over the last few years. I think forget about Chelsea because no one's going to compete with them. But I don't think that. I think Man United might have spent more than us. Manchester City probably like just about, maybe a little bit more than us with a couple of signings that they've made. No one else really. Liverpool, I don't think have spent as much as us over the last 3 or 4 years. Certainly, I don't think any other team has. Newcastle, when everybody thought that everybody became mad over them. So I think you can't really blame the Cronkies no more, if I'll be honest. I don't know who this is down to. It'd be very, very interesting to see who it is down to. I think Arsenal made some good signings. Like Timber's a very good sign. Like people go on about the rail one. The rail one, I'm going to say we don't know if that's going to be more hindrance or not, because is it putting a little bit more pressure on Ramsdale? Is it this and that? I don't know. So I just think that, you know, we could have maybe listen. And the other thing is, Dan, I'm going to say this now. You know, it's you've got players like I think it's just a check coming here from Tucky, like just saying like Ward-Prowse, Maddison.
Mate, I just looked at that myself. Tucky, that is an unbelievable point.
It is a very, very good point. But all of those players, except Barnes, right? Because Barnes has gone to a Champions League. All the others have gone to teams that are not in the Champions League, like, yeah. Now, the fact is, if you say to Ward-Prowse, Maddison, all of those guys, care come to the Arsenal is going to be a squad player, or you go to those teams and play week in, week out. So there is a tough part of that recruiting. But, you know, if you want to get into the Champions League and play in the Champions League, I thought it was an easy sell, wasn't it? The Champions League. I'm not, so I don't.
Apparently, it's why we couldn't get top players, and now we can. We ain't signed
So
any
you
top
can't
players. We
say
signed Rice and
you can't
Timber,
say
who are top
it's an
players. The
excuse.
others aren't.
Yeah, you can't say it's an excuse one year and then use it as another excuse the next year. Do you know what I mean? Like you can't do that. So for me, it's a difficult one, Dan. It's a difficult one.
Well, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. I think Tucky's brought up a good point here, right?
Yeah, it's a very good point.
He's only named the players that have left, right? That have gone in the window. This window is Diaby better coming off the bench for Saka's injury than Nelson? Yes, he's already scored 4 goals for Villa. He's been brilliant at Bayern Leverkusen. Scored for I think 5 or 6 goals now in their pre-season and everything.
He gets
I've said Pepe, but I think Pepe will be mutually terminated. Personally, I think they'll terminate his contract. I don't think I think they'll use Nelson, not Pepe, right? But Diaby would have been a much better option. Would Kudus have been a better option? 100%, mate. I think he scored a hat-trick for Ajax the day that he left, and then he's gone to West Ham now, right? Would Maddison be better than Havertz? 100%. You can give him as much time as you want. Maddison has scored, I think it's 46 goals in the 3 years that Havertz has scored about 11, right? So for me, Maddison, stat-wise, guarantees you a minimum of 11 goals, plus assists, by the way, for Leicester. So what's he going to do at Arsenal? Much better than Havertz. I'm sorry, I'm not having anything other than that. RB Barnes and Ward-Prowse, I wouldn't excite me, Lee. I'm not going to lie. But maybe Ward-Prowse would actually at least be more of a central midfield option than the attacking options we've got and be a set piece. And maybe Barnes would have given us a little bit of flair. But I'm not really going to say they would miss opportunities for us. But certainly Diaby, Kudus and Maddison, you putting them 3 in the Arsenal team right now instead of Havertz, I'm having it all day long. I'm sorry. I'm having that. And they were all available, Judge.
Yeah. Listen, the Havertz one, I think, is the I say it now and I continue to say it. This is the one that will make or break Arteta, because everybody's not convinced. And that's even like I've actually spoken to, like, the Arteta who can't do no wrong camp, right? You know what I mean? Like, that are all there with their toilet roll waiting for wipe his ass, have actually turned around and said they're undecided. It's funny this, undecided about Kai Havertz at the moment. Like, you know what I mean? Give him more time. And I get that. I know I'm going to give him more time. And the thing with Havertz, I do think that he could probably play up. The only way I'm looking at it is that he can play up front where someone like Maddison can't. That's the only reason that you would take Havertz over Maddison. The only reason, Dan, that I can see, the only excuse that I can give him for that. When he done it very well against Manchester City, like, we've got Manchester United now. I still think Kai Havertz will play tomorrow on Sunday, Dan.
So do I.
I think he will. I think he will. And this is where the pressure comes on, like, you know what I mean? I don't know where he's going to play. I've got a feeling, I'll say it now, I'll say it on here, that Thomas Partey will be dropped on Sunday. Will be on the bench. That's my opinion.
That can't happen, surely.
I think that it will. I think that he'll bring back Gabriel, reinstate Ben White at right back, and the midfield 3 will be, Rice, Ødegaard, and Havertz. If not, Havertz plays up front in front of Eddie and Jesus, which is criminal. But that's what I think he'll do. It'd be very, very interesting. I'm going to say this now, if Mikel plays a team that I think he should do and we lose, I'll be disappointed, but I won't blame him. If he plays a team that I don't think that, like with Havertz in it and we lose, it's all on Arteta. That's how I see it.
Listen, I'm with you. I don't think the team will be any different from what we saw at Fulham. I said this before, and I stand by it. I don't think Zinchenko will start. I don't think Jesus will start. I think it will be exactly the same team. Tomiyasu or Kivior will play instead of Timber or Zinchenko. Um, I think that's what it will be. I don't see any difference whatsoever. I think he's happy with the system. Apparently, in his press conference, someone said it in the chat earlier. If you listen to it, he don't sound like he's changing anything. So for me, I think it'll be the same thing. I really do. And it might be that there's injury we don't know about, but I'll be stunned if Thomas Partey's on the bench. I mean, I'll be stunned if he don't play Tom. If he has Partey and Gabriel on the bench, what the hell are we doing? Like honestly, what are we against Man United? By the way, where we need physical presence, and you're leaving your two tough men out. I mean, that is just for me. It would be a shambles. Now, listen, we might play this system tomorrow that we haven't been a fan of and beat Man United because they're a shambles, right? Let's have it right, Judge. They are a shambles.
Yeah.
They've got no Varane. They've got no Luke Shaw. They're tossing and turning about who they can sign last minute. It looks like it's going to be Reguilón from Tottenham. For me, you're going to probably have Wan-Bissaka and Dalot playing fullbacks. And then obviously you're going to have Varane, who's out. So he'll be replaced by Lindelof and it'll be Martinez. In the midfield, I imagine it will be Casemiro, Eriksen and Bruno. And then I think they'll play Anthony, Martial and Rashford. We should wipe the floor with them. Even with this system, we should. But I think everybody's praying and hoping that we go back to it so that we can absolutely convincingly beat them and go for it. Now, I don't think personally there's any huge threat there at Manchester United other than Bruno's creativity and Rashford. Other than that, we should be fine to comfortably deal with Martial and Anthony. Our midfield should be able to battle with that because Eriksen and Bruno are going to be leaving Casemiro on his own. And defensively, they've got injury problems. So I don't think we should go into this Manchester United game thinking, oh, I don't know if we're going to be able to beat them because I think we could beat them with even this system, right? But if we don't, people always say, what happens if we smash them? But what happens if we don't? And if he plays this system, this fan base, they can turn quite quickly, as we've seen. There's no consistency in this fan base. It's all over the place. Oh, he's brilliant. No, he's no good all the time. And I've always had concerns about this system, man. I really have. And I'm not confident going into this one. So you think he's going to change it up a bit, do you?
Well, listen, I'm hoping that he will do, Dan. And listen, like we got, the staunch Arteta people are all saying the same. They're hoping that he does. They're not convinced with what they're seeing. They've all said it in the group chats and all that. Like, they're not quite sure what's going on. Oh, he'll revert back to this one now. He's tried it for 3 games because he felt he could win all those 3 games. And let's face it, if it wasn't his fault when we was 2-1 up that we didn't win that game. We got away with it. He could have actually walked out of that game and probably, Dan, me and you would have walked in after the game and said, well, we got away with it again. You know what I mean? But we didn't. So, it was for me, it wasn't his fault that we were when it was 2-1 with 10 men. That's down to the players, but it was his fault for putting us in that position in the first place. Listen, Thomas Partey has been exposed in that right channel has been exposed by not so much Crystal Palace, but it was when we went down to 10 men until we changed it. But the other 2 games at home, we've been exposed down that right-hand side unbelievably. If you're putting Rashford out there, you know what I mean? I fear for Thomas Partey. I really fear for Thomas Partey.
Great point.
So if Arteta was to do that, I think it'd be mad. It'd be mad. I think that he will go back to that back 4. I think Gabriel will definitely come back in. I'll be shocked if he doesn't. If Kivior comes in place of him, then there's a fallout that's happened. But if Kivior comes in, he's not a bad player. I've got no problems with him coming in if that's the way he wants to go. But for me, Gabriel comes back in. He's aggressive with our defending. I think that we've missed that. Listen, with Gabriel in the team, with those back 4 players, and we're still letting in goals left, right, and centre last season. So it's not. So to me, it's not the defensive players; it's the setup and the exposure that we're letting them play under. So I think the decision comes between three players. I think that three players. I think the three players, and there's one position available, like, and it depends how you go. Thomas Partey comes in a midfield, or he's left out for Havertz, or Thomas Partey comes in, Havertz plays, and Eddie's left out, or Eddie plays and Thomas Partey's left out. That's how I see it. I'd be shocked. I will be shocked if Havertz is on the bench and not dropped for this game. I do think that he'll play. For me, Havertz is on the bench for this game. I would go with what I'll go with there. Rice and Thomas Partey in the midfield, dominating it from the pivot. Rice getting box to box, and don't get me wrong, Thomas Partey can go box to box as well. You know what I mean? Like, it ain't like that he's just stands there. And for me, like, I would play. I'd still play Jesus up front instead of Eddie, but I think that Eddie, like Jesus has had a week training. If he's your main man, how can I say this, Dan? Like, just say, like, for instance, Messi is your, who's to say is your main strikers in the football club? Thierry Henry's been injured for 3 weeks. He's had a week's training. Harry Kane been out for 3 weeks at Tottenham, but he's done a week's training. Would you play them in the game against Man United, or will you go, he's not quite ready yet, we'll leave him? Like,
I think if anybody is fit enough to be on the bench, they start the game.
Right. So if he's your main striker, and I don't care what anybody says, I know it's a bit brutal and all that, like, but I'm pretty sure there would have been times when Henry was left out and Will Toole might have scored a couple of goals, and Harry Kane, I remember what's his name scoring a hat-trick and still being left out of a cup final because for an unfit Harry Kane. If Jesus is your main striker and he's fit, then he starts, doesn't he?
He does in my eyes. Listen, people can say that's harsh on Eddie. He's probably been the best forward we've had so far this season. He scored goals, he's worked hard, and he's done well. But let's be real. When that first 11 is fit, it all plays for me. You play that first 11, which was the last year's 11 with Declan Rice instead of Xhaka. That's what everyone wants to see, Lee. Everybody wants to see that. And I've got to bring up this super chat because it links nicely to that by Simon Paul, who says, it was only 4 games ago that we set up differently against Man City in the Community Shield. I'll be surprised if we don't set up with the same back 4 against the bigger teams and better teams.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
See that. We're going to see that this weekend.
Yeah, I do. That's why I think that maybe Havertz will play as the striker. Listen, I just see someone in the question just went through. I'm not comparing Jesus in the same league as Henry and Harry Kane and all that. My point being that he's your main striker at your club. Whether you think that he's up to that level or not, he is the main one. Like, you know what I mean? So, and I get you should probably work Jesus back into the team, but we've done that over the last year now. For me, I think Arsenal play better when Jesus is out front. That's my opinion, whether he's 90% fit or 8% fit. Listen, I'm not going to have a problem. If I go to the starting lineup and I see that Eddie's playing in front of Jesus or Havertz playing in front of both of them, I don't think it's the issue. What I do think is the issue if we haven't got Partey in the midfield and the back 4 going in there. I'm not worried. As long as that back 4, for me, I'm going to be. I'll say it now. If we got White, Saliba, Gabriel, and Shinchenko as our back 4, and I'll say it, Partey and Rice in the midfield with Odegaard, whoever up front, and we lose the game, I will not be blaming, going mad about Arteta's team selection. You know what I mean? I think that we have to have that strong base because, and I think players coming off the bench can win you games as well, Dan. People don't necessarily think that, but they do, you know what I mean? So the last 20 minutes of that game could be very, very important as well. Players coming on as well, So I think that's um, the way to go, really. Like, you know.
Let's ask you, has your prediction changed for this game? What are you going for?
I've gone 2-0. That
Clean
is
sheet at home. Wow.
2-0. Yeah, I think that Arsenal will work very, very hard to keep that clean sheet this week. Like, I think, like, if I'm Arteta and if I was manager of that football team at the moment, my first thing would be, right, this is what I would have done on Saturday. I would have said to the lads, I said to the team, right, you know, dust yourselves down, couple of days off, Sunday and Monday. We're back on Tuesday. And on Tuesday, I worked them hard. And then in that conversation, all I said, mistakes have got to stop now. Anybody that's making silly, basic mistakes, your place is under pressure. Don't make the mistakes. You know what I mean? And like, you know, people go, oh, but you're putting pressure on and all that. No, mate, you're at this football club because you don't make the mistakes that players do in League One and League Two and in the Championship. That is why you're here. So make sure that you stay here. The reason that you will stay is if you do things right. So don't cut out the basic mistakes of a game of football. They will happen, but make sure it's not you. And then I would work on defending over these next few days. I don't think Mikel has done anything to change our vulnerability on the counter-attack at home. We have kept 4 clean sheets out of 21, Dan, with over 70%, average of over 70% of the ball. So that's basically 30% every team's getting at the Emirates and they're scoring goals for fun against us. So something's got to change. So I'll be working very, very hard on that. Listen, you know, I look back at that game. I actually look back at it. You know, Shinchenko made such a difference, Dan, but it was his poxy pass. You know, like no need. You know,
It was
like
brilliant when he come on and he does that. You know,
it was you look back at that. So that's decision making. That's what I'll be sitting down with him and going, right, look how good you was. Right. Yes, you've taken the risks because we're 1-0 down. You've taken the risks when we're 1-1. Why did you take that risk when we're 2-1? Why did you take that risk when we're 2-1 up with and he would turn around and go, oh, I thought because we had 10 men or whatever, like, you know. So, like, yeah, right. Well, now, I don't mind you doing that, but when we're 2-1 up, do not make that decision. That's when your decision, your management decision of a game of football has got to be better. And I question that. Not about ability. It's that decision. What do I do now? You know, so these are the little things that they've got to do. You know, clear your lines properly. When you're 2-1 up, clear your lines. It rows in. But when you're not, yeah, get the ball down and play and all that. Like, I get all of that sort of stuff, like, you know. But we concede too easy at home. And I think that if I believe what I believe in Arteta, and I still think that he's a very, very good coach and all that, this will be instilled in this game. Will be instilled in it. You know, and if we concede in the first 5 minutes and you're near me at the ground, but don't get too close to me because I won't be in a happy mood if it does happen. But that's what I think will happen. I think there'll be a lot of focus on making sure that we don't concede goals.
Well, there needs to be, because if we go down 1-0 in the first minute, not only are we all going to be disappointed, we're all going to start thinking, what's happening here? Because the players are it's actually a player thing for me, because it's lack of focus, it's lack of concentration, it's lack of professionalism as well. In my opinion, you should be ready and focused from minute 1 to 90. And I can forgive you making a mistake in the 89th minute because you're knackered. But when you're doing it in minute 1 or 30 seconds, it's a shambles, if I'm honest. So that needs to stop. And that's nothing to do with the manager. That's the players. When it comes to the system that we're playing, I think it will remain the same, which is why I've gone for us to drop points this weekend. I think it'll be 2-2. Last season, we nicked it in the last minute, 3-2 playing the other system. This system, I don't think we look anywhere near as good. So I'm gonna go for a 2-2. I think this Højlund is apparently available. Manchester United, they'll have Rashford back on the wing, which will be a fun and games. I mean, I don't know if you remember this goal he scored last season, which was phenomenal, Rashford's goal. Who was the player he spun past? Thomas Partey. So for me, it don't look too good if he's going to play there. Listen, I hope I'm wrong. I really do. You know, the chat will obviously hope I'm wrong as well. If we play the old system and go free flowing Arsenal, I think we've got the ability to go 2 or 3-1 winners because I just think that we could be too much for them. If we're going to set up in this way and just affect the likes of Saka and Martinelli running at fullbacks and protect the defence and have party in front of going at Rashford, I don't know, man. I think it could be a bit of a nightmare. If we draw 2-2 to Fulham, then it ain't a madness to think we might draw 2-2 to Man United. So let's see. I hope I'm wrong, man. Listen, the last few minutes, Lee, I want to talk about some of the players that might be leaving the club in the coming hours. Obviously, we saw a few players leave already. Runnisson's gone on loan. Tavares has gone on loan to Nottingham Forest with £12 million of an option to buy. I'm just going to shout the names, and I want you to tell me if you think they're going to stay or go, mate. Rob Holding, what do we reckon?
I think if Crystal Palace come in for him, I think he'd go. And that'd be a fantastic move for him. I don't think he's a bad player, but Crystal Palace will benefit from what he does. They'll have to defend a lot more. And I think they'll defend deeper. And I think it'll suit his play. With Arsenal, he has to defend higher. Can we have a lot more of the ball? I think it'd be a very, very good move for him if he was to go there, and it would be good luck to him if he does.
Fair play. I happen to think he will go somewhere on loan, whether it's Palace or not, I don't know. Luton have squashed that rumour and said, don't know where that come from, we're not in for him. So Palace is looking like an option. Let's talk Cedric. I haven't heard anything about Cedric. Are we going to keep him or is he going to go?
I think he'll probably go, but after the transfer window, when we mutually cancel his contract.
Interesting. Let's talk Lokonga. Lots of rumours about Brighton and Burnley being interested on loan not long ago. A couple of other clubs apparently as well abroad. Do you think he's going to get a loan move in the coming hours?
No, not enough time. Don't think nothing really positive come out of it, really, is it, for him? Like, you know what I mean? I think he's going to have to, to be honest, I forgot about him. That's how poor he's been.
Yeah, man, and he's another 6 as well. He's not an 8, and we need an 8, not a 6. We've got loads of 6s. Okay, Pepe. Let's talk what you think will happen and what you would do.
I think that they've tried to out him. They've tried to get him gone, but can't get any suitors for him. I think if you can hit a bit of form, I think he's a good player to come in as a backup for Saka on that right-hand side, and play him in the cup competitions, to give Saka a break and a chance to rebuild his career. Not maybe necessarily with Arsenal, but if he does the business at Arsenal, it could get him a loan somewhere else. Too good to be left in limbo land, in my opinion. So a good backup for Saka, yes, backup player. But what do I think of that one? I think they've had to swallow it down because if no one wants him, you can't be putting all that much wages and just doing nothing. So they're going to have to integrate him back, in my opinion.
Fair play. Let me have my say on Pepe, shall I?
I know you like him.
Listen, it's not even that, Lee, if I'm honest. I don't sit there and say that he's one of our better players. I've never said that, if I'm honest, have I? I've never said he's top quality, get him in the side. I've always thought that he got a little bit of harsh criticism in comparison to some of the other players, right? That's all it was. And I just thought, why are we slagging off some of our other players and we're not slagging off, and we continue to slag off, why are we slagging off Pepe but not some of the other players? So for me, his creativity and his stats are nowhere near as bad as the way people have made it out. That's just a fact. People might not like it and think that he's going to be Thierry Henry, and I'd agree with that. But actually, when you look at it, if you're asking me now, you've got a player to bring on. Are you going to bring on Pepe, Fabio Vieira, or Reece Nelson? I'm going to back Pepe because I think that the creativity of him, whether he scores, assists, or whatever it be, has been better for me than the likes of the other two. Now, Nelson has scored goals. So has Fabio Vieira. So has Pepe, right? So I don't think that Pepe would be a shocking option to keep. I'm not going to say he's going to win us a title, that's for sure. He's not an upgrade on many of the other players we've got, but he's certainly no worse. And I think that when you look at it, there's a stat of 127 games, I think it is. And he's managed to get 27 goals and 21 assists or something like that. And you look at that of some of the other flops that he's apparently being compared with, like Havertz and Sancho and Anthony and some of the others that have been thrown in there now. He's miles ahead. So I don't think Pepe is going to win us a title, but I don't think that he's going to be a shocking option to keep in the squad. I happen to think I'll tell you what is going to happen. He's going to get mutually terminated. That's what I think is going to happen. They're going to terminate his contract. So I don't want to pay him 147k a week, right? That's what will probably happen, and he'll go find another club. But if we were to keep him, I'm not going to be up in arms going, "Oh my god, this is a disgrace." That's what I think. So we'll see what happens.
And I know you're saying that about the termination of contract. If there's nothing really on offer for him, then he won't. He won't be terminating, will he?
Very good point. Very good point. But would he, like there was rumours about his sick task, but they didn't want to pay him 146 a week. There was rumours of Saudi Arabia, but they've not come in with any form of fee. So it looks like he's staying. And it's mad. I'll tell you what, you can rate our window, and we'll do that to close. I'll tell you what, our outgoings has been a 1 out of 10. I mean, we've sold Balogun for 40 million and Xhaka for about.
Yeah, he said he couldn't find a place for him in the team.
17 minutes.
In the
I
squad.
mean, what is going on? That is poor, mate. Really poor for me. And all these guys are still here. We're loaning players and stuff like that. It really is mad. We just got a super chat here from Jack Harmon, who says, "Afternoon, lads. From what Arteta said during his press conference, it sounds like Partey will be starting at right back again. Rashford will have a field day." Yeah, we've just spoken about that, Lee.
Yeah, we have said that about that, Jack. But listen, I don't believe everything. Don't believe everything. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, of course. We've seen before, haven't we? That it comes into the team news. I'll tell you what, actually, this is really important. At 3:30, when that team news comes out in the stadium, it will change because it's always buzzing at the moment. It will either go, "Wow, we've changed it," or "Oh no."
Yeah, there'll be and that's what
happen.
Yeah,
that will happen. Okay, let's do it then before we close, Lee. What would you give it out of 10? This transfer window, as things stand, unless there's a madness later on.
As things stand, before Timber, it was 8. At the moment, 6.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm a little bit. It wouldn't be me, would it, if I weren't a bit of a negative Nigel with it? I gave it a 6.5 when we signed Timber because I still thought there was so much more to do. Then we signed Raya, so it went up to a 7 because I thought for me that was actually quite a good signing. I know a lot of people are saying it's a hindrance, but I actually think that's a good signing. And then Timber got injured. So it's put it right back down for me. The outgoings, and I also expected us to go and get a couple more players, by the way. It's put it right down for me. I'm down about the fact we ain't replaced him. I'm down about the fact we don't have anybody else coming in. It's just no more outgoings. These outgoings have been a shambles so far. So I have to give it like a 6 out of 10. I can't give it higher than that. Yeah. Similar to last season, I gave it a 6, and everyone went, "It's a 9. Gabriel Jesus is here." And I thought, if it's a 9, I expect us to win the league then. I've got, like Tom Canton's told me today, I'm doing a show, he's coming on my show at 7. It's a 9 out of 10 window, this. Sorry? Like, what is happening here? Oh, the Timber injuries put it down to a 7.5 or 8, I think he said. Like, come on, man. Are we real? I tell you what then.
Tom Canton. Don't tell me about him.
Well, if it's a 9 out of 10 window, Lee, don't any of them tell me we're short at any point this summer. Never tell me we're short.
Rumour is when Mikel Arteta goes to the toilet, he's actually in the toilet and ready and waiting for him. I don't know if that's true. He phones ahead. Tom, I'm ready to go. I'll be there in 2, Mikel. That's what I hear,
Oh wow, brilliant. Listen, while Lee gets ready for us to close the show, what I will do is I will say, please do us a favor and like this video. We're getting towards our next target, which is of course 40k. So make sure that you join the community for that. If you do want to subscribe and you're not already, that'd be amazing. So like and subscribe on your way out. If you can come and support me, I'm going to be doing a show at 7 p.m. tonight with a call-in show with loads of different clubs. So please make sure you're there for that one over at Football's 12th Man Podcast. I'm getting really close to 12k now, people, so make sure you come and support that as well. Yeah, we're going to be back talking all things football over the weekend with this big Manchester United Arsenal game, so make sure you stay tuned to the channel and make sure you come and follow us both. Until then, we're out of here. Take it easy and up the Arsenal. Latest, people.
See you later, guys. And sorry for no music intro, but we get it sorted. Have a good one.